So, a few of our members and two of the guys on my team picked up this short trade last week on US dollar CAD. This is the hourly chart you can see here. Now, as you can see, after the entry point up there, it was pretty much smooth sailing. The price just continued moving lower and lower. In fact, me and the team were discussing where there may even be opportunities to scale in, which is where you increase your position size. However, it then encountered a bit of disruption around here. Now, this created an extra level of uncertainty that led to one of the guys on my team, this guy, and no, he doesn't always trade in a pool, I'm just doing this to embarrass him, it led him to scaling out of the trade, meaning that he closed part of the trade to bank some profit. He then closed the rest of the trade a little bit later after the price continued moving lower and into more profit. So he closed the next part with a bit more profit. Now, Nuno actually wrote up a really detailed breakdown of the trade and his decision-making process in our Trader Upgrade Trading Hub. If you remember, you can check it out posted in the app. But although all of that is good stuff, it's only really the backstory for what was the really important part of this whole situation. You see, after the price continued moving lower, after the time that Nuno had scaled out, I checked in with Nuno to see if he was still in the trade, and he said this. Okay, so I know he was joking, I've got to be fair to him, but I do also think there's always a bit of truth to something like that. When someone makes that sort of comment, they might be saying it tongue in cheek, but deep down, they kind of feel it. And actually, this is a very common situation that many traders put themselves in. Not joking about their trades, but being disappointed in a scale out or a decision that they've made. So in the video that we put out recently about having a context-based trading approach, I said this. The way I look at trading is that when we take actions in the market, we're making a statement about something. Even if we choose to do nothing, to take no action in the market, if we make a decision to do that, we're making a statement in one way or another. So, what sort of statement do you think you're making if you scale out of a trade? Well, you're saying that the situation is still good enough to be in the trade, but the probability, the uncertainty, or the risk has changed in some way, changed enough that you want to reduce your position size and take some profit. It isn't saying that you don't think the price is going to continue to move in your favor, because if he thought that the price wasn't going to move lower, or if he thought the chance of it moving lower was not high enough for it to be a good situation for him, he would exit the trade completely at that point. He wouldn't just be scaling out. So in that case, he's now putting himself in a lose-lose situation. Can you see why? Because if the price doesn't move more in his favor, he'll have less profit because it's therefore moving against him. And so he'll probably be disappointed that he didn't just close the whole trade at that point when he was thinking about scaling out. But then when the price did move lower and he made more profit on the position that was still open, he was disappointed anyway. He was disappointed that he had scaled out and that he didn't keep the full position open. So this means whatever happened, he was always going to be disappointed. He had created a lose-lose situation. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, he ended up with a profitable trade, so if that's a losing situation, that's the sort of losing situation that I want to have. And to a certain extent, I agree with you with that, but we have to think about it this way. Successful trading is not about any single trade we take. It's about all of our trades. It's about our performance over the long term. Now, what he's been left with is this underlying frustration about the decision that he's taken and this doubt about whether it was right or wrong. So that's giving him emotions that could shape the future decision making that he goes through, whether consciously or not. So next time he encounters a situation where he could scale out and maybe should scale out, this now might affect what he does, even though on this occasion it wasn't necessarily the wrong thing. The truth is, we can only ever see what ends up happening in a situation. We can't see, 100 different occasions and see what could have happened. We only see what ends up happening. And so it's really difficult for us not to go through something called resulting, which is where we look at the outcome and judge our decision making based on what ends up happening next. But we need to stop ourselves from doing that as much as possible. This is something I see traders doing all the time in many different ways, creating these situations where, regardless of what happens with the trade, they're going to feel disappointed and frustrated and like they've lost something in some way. Let me give you another really common example. So after US dollar CAD continued dropping even further, I actually entered a long trade over here and I exited up here. So that's 75 pips profit. I'd say it's a decent sized move, and I think it was 18 hours or something that the trade was open. So for that amount of time, a very decent sized move for a trade. I actually posted the full video breakdown of it in our app to explain my decision making, but basically the timing of the exit was more about the timing rather than anything specific that had changed with the context. But as you can see, the price continued to move another 45 pips higher. That's an additional 60% on top of the profit that I had just taken. I could have had 60% more profit if I stayed in the trade. So how should I feel about that? Disappointed, frustrated, annoyed at myself, kicking myself all weekend over exiting the trade too soon? What do you think? Well, I should feel absolutely nothing about it. If I'd made a mistake, I can feel annoyed with myself for making that mistake and try to correct it so that I won't do it again in future. But if no mistake was made, I shouldn't feel anything about the outcome, because you never know with absolute certainty what's going to happen next. We exit a trade and it could go up or it could go down. The price could move in our favor or it could move against us. We make decisions based on probabilities, not because we know with 100% certainty what's going to happen next. We're not Mystic Meg with our crystal ball, we're trading based on probability. But traders do this all the time. They get annoyed with themselves when they enter a trade and it moves against them initially, so they feel like they could have got a better entry price, like they entered too early. Then they exit the trade and feel annoyed if it moves further in their favor, like they managed the trade wrong, they exited too soon, they should have stayed in longer. But that means you're putting yourself in a losing situation. You see, either the trade is going to be absolutely perfect, you're going to have a pinpoint entry and a pinpoint exit, or you're going to be disappointed and frustrated in yourself and think you've done something wrong. So where is the logic in that? Do you realize that this means that you're always going to be constantly frustrated at your trading performance, apart from those occasional times every now and then that you get it absolutely perfect on both ends of the trade? But that's not what we're trying to achieve with our trading. You know, of course, it feels great when you get a pinpoint entry and a pinpoint exit and it's the model trade and you're like, yes, that was a good trade. That feels really, really good. But we can't execute things to that level of absolute perfection every single time, not because we can't perform well, but because there's no way of having 100% certainty about what the price will do next. Instead, we just open a trade when the quality of the situation is good enough that taking a position at that time is the right decision to make, and then we close the trade when the quality is too low. In other words, it's all about our estimates of probability. It's not about us knowing the price is going to do this, then do that. It's about our estimate of the probability of that outcome occurring. Now, I'm sure if you reflect on your own trading, you'll find many other occasions where you're putting yourself in a situation where it's really only possible for you to feel like you've lost, where only the very rarest outcome will actually leave you feeling completely satisfied, and anything else is going to leave you feeling frustrated and negative about your decision making. But if you're always feeling frustrated and negative about your trading performance, then two bad things can happen, amongst many other bad things. The first is that this can actually become a root cause problem that leads to many of the symptom level problems that traders encounter that end up harming your trading and stopping you from performing well. And to understand more about that, check out the video that we'll link up here on the real reasons for your trading problems. And the other bad thing is that you'll end up making trading unenjoyable for yourself. You know, if any action and any decision that you take leads to a negative emotion, since you feel disappointed, frustrated, or annoyed at yourself, you'll stop taking those actions. You'll stop wanting to make decisions. Eventually, you'll end up hesitating too much with your trading that you don't even execute trades anymore. And in extreme cases, you might even abandon trading altogether because you just lose the passion for it. You lose the spark because it just doesn't feel enjoyable anymore. It's not something you want to do because it's bringing negative emotions, making you feel like you're doing things wrong all the time. So here's what I think you should do. Spend some time digging into your trade journal. I hope you've been keeping one, and think to yourself, am I really allowing myself to have the chance to succeed with my trading, or is everything I do just not good enough? You know, it's always good to feel like you can progress, improve, and develop more. That's part of having a growth mindset, which is essential, but you can't always be expecting perfection, especially when much of what happens is actually out of your control. So instead, remind yourself of the parts of your trading you can control and remind yourself of what trading is all about. It's not about predicting every single move in the market. It's about using your edge to make a profit by having your profitable trades exceed your losing trades. So hold yourself and your performance to a high standard, but not an impossible one, and fall in love with what trading is and not with what it isn't. Now, I'm really interested to know how many of you experience this as well. So let me know in the comments section. Let me know how you put yourself in these lose-lose situations, or hold yourself to impossible standards, or just generally create these situations where the chance of actually feeling satisfied with something is a rare occurrence because you're pretty much definitely going to feel frustrated. Let me know in the comments section, and then let me know what you can actually do to start working on, putting an end to it. And don't forget, we also have our second channel now, Market Movers, where we post more frequent videos on the financial news, fundamental analysis, and our opinions and all of that stuff. Please do hit the thumbs up button if you like this video. It really does help support the channel, and we really appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you later in the week. Take care.